to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowan, Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. We'll be looking back at all the Premiership action, including trying to figure out what happened to Bath. Then we'll be joined by former Wales and British and Irish Lions scrum-half Mike Phillips to chat all about his fallout with Warren Gatland and missing out on the 2015 World Cup squad. So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify. How's your week been, lads?
Andrew, you're on holiday again. I'm jealous. So I'll hit you with... Do you want me to hit you with what I've got, my mundane week, or do you want to talk us through your business class flights to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and what's going on holiday again?
Mate, it's just, you've got to plan well, James. So it's the twins' fourth birthday. It was yesterday. And they just said, I asked them, I said, Olivia, Isabella, what do you want to do? And they went, Daddy, we want to go to Dubai. So I'm like, no problem, girls. No, we'll go for 2 weeks. If 2 weeks you want to go, because there's two of you, we'll go for 2 weeks. So here we are. The belly's out around the pool. Again, I love coming on holiday. And the reason I do this is, let's not forget, James, for 18 years as a professional rugby player, I walked into a changing room every day and I'm looking at...
You farted?
I probably did fart, most days, to be honest. But I'm looking at blokes, apart from when we were in the same changing room, with bodies that are like to aspire to. And now I come on holiday, I'm around the pool, and I've got one of the best rigs around the pool. It's not great. Not great. There's a lot of thongs on show. And
get some videos, get some pictures, some voyeurism. Send them over.
I thought about showing my thong, my budgie smuggler thong that I'd sent us, but no. I'm just going shorts. We're by the pool. The kids are loving it. We've been to Nobu. I found, and I know my favourite Frenchman is the head chef at Nobu, Damien. And we just had loving life, James. You just got to put the kids first. That's what I've done. They wanted to come to Dubai. We've put them first. We flew over. We're having an amazing time.
Well, my kids asked on their birthday. Well, Scotland's good, but on the kids' birthday, they said to me, I said, kids, what do you want? And Max and Freya said, Daddy, I want you off your phone. I want you to be off your phone. And I did. I did for the day.
An hour for the whole day.
Screen time was down from about 7 hours to about 2. So, very different contrast, Andrew, in our house. But what's happened this week? Me and Beck had a fallout at the weekend. Big fallout. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, we had the weekend away. I said the weekend. We were away Thursday, Friday, got back home Saturday. Went out to play Paul on Friday night, all kicked off.
Because you were away Thursday, Friday at Brad Barrett's testimonial, weren't you?
Yes, got up on stage, spoke, basically did the same sketch as I did in Glasgow that went down a shit sandwich, and I got a standing ovation. I basically got carried out of Brad Barrett's testimonial. I thought it was my testimonial. Sat next to Francois Pienaar, just talking all things leadership. Very humbling experience, but I'm back. Anyone who wants to book me, I am back. I've got this sketch that went down like a shit sandwich in Glasgow, but I was a king in London. But anyway.
Well, that's the thing. Is that because of your accent? So in Glasgow, because you're English and you've got an English accent, maybe they didn't understand you in Glasgow, but in London they do.
Well, there we go. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But nonetheless, it went down an absolute storm. I thought it was my testimonial. But on the Friday, me and Beck came back to Edinburgh, went out and played Paul, and she's a baller, right? So anything from, like throwing basketballs into a hoop and having a competition, Paul, darts, like she's good.
Didn't she play netball for England or something?
Yeah, she played netball for England, and when she was at school and stuff, she was in the GBR. I don't even know what that is, team for athletics. No idea. No, I mean, who does have athletics? Not me. Paul, she's unbelievable. Anyway, she won the first set 2-0, and it was the best of 3 games. So basically, in my mind, it's like, right, first of 3, she wins 2-0, she wins the first set. Second one, it's like, right, if we win this back, it goes to the third one. Obviously, I'm thinking, I've got a chance here.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. Sets is tennis, but
yeah, I don't understand.
What game are you playing, son?
Well, what is it in pool then?
It's a game.
It's racks.
Here we go.
Is it way?
Yeah.
Genuine.
Yeah, genuine racks.
You can't say that. Can't say that.
Of course you can.
You can't say that. So I've gone with sets because you can't say that.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Beck had a good rack.
So Beck first rack, unbelievable. Second rack, unbelievable again. She's winning the first game, comes to me on the black, pots the black and the white. I'm cheering. I'm on to win the second rack. And second game, pots the black early. So it's now 2 racks all. Is it genuinely rack, or are you having me on here?
I'm telling you, it's racks.
And I said, right, third game. I said, third game, we'll just do one. Winner takes all. Loser gets up in the morning with the kids. She wouldn't do it.
What?
Filthy. She said, I don't know, like I'm taking the piss out of her or whatever, because I'm jumping around the pool table. So
You were jumping around the pool table celebrating beating your missus at pool.
But we weren't. We were level. That was the thing. We were level, but it was more me. I wasn't taking the piss out of her. It was the fact that she potted the black twice, well, the black and the white, and then the black. Anyway, my point being is, don't go away with your missus and play pool, because we didn't speak for 2 days, which isn't a bad thing. But the kids are starting to think, Mummy and Daddy have been away. They should come back, revitalised, recharged, ready to go. Dad sat there on his phone, and Mum was wandering around the house not talking to Dad. But apart from that, I had a spike of energy on Thursday at Brad Barrett's testimonial. It was one rackle on the pool table, and I did the big game of the weekend. # always Edinburgh versus the Bulls.
The Bulls.
We'll talk more about the rugby in a moment, but don't forget, we're making our comeback to the streets of Cardiff on Wednesday, the 3rd of November, for a live show in the run-up to the Wales v South Africa game. It's on in the depot, so get your mates together for a massive night, and we'll have a couple of surprises there as well. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, so just go there and search for the Rugby Pod. It's just 20 quid, and you get a free pint of cause there as well. We'll get into the Premiership in a minute, but the England squad for the Autumn Internationals has been named. Goodey, what have you made of it?
I mean, the big thing is, and I like some of the selections, we complain, and we've complained on here, and people have complained in the press previously, of Eddie Jones just going with the same old. The guys that he's trusted since getting to the World Cup final in 2019, and not really blooding enough youngsters, not really giving guys on form in the Premiership an opportunity. And this squad, he's done it. I'm really excited about it, to be honest. And there's always going to be questions about. Yeah, I am all because he's changed as a person, I reckon, Eddie Jones, in terms of his selection. Because 2 years ago, he used to say Premiership form doesn't really matter. It's not really relevant to the international game. And now he's picking players that are, bang on form in the Premiership. Look at Nick Dolly. Now, we're going to have the debate around Jamie George, and I'll get it out there first, Jim. I cannot believe that Jamie George isn't in the England squad. But someone like Nick Dolly, who's burst onto the scene this year, played at Leicester and scoring tries for fun off the back of a strong driving maul, it's given him an opportunity off the back of Premiership form. I'm not saying for 1 minute that I don't think Jamie George should be in the squad. I think he should, but we're looking at Adam Radwan. We're looking at Tommy Freeman. Again, these youngsters that are coming through. We're on now a 2-year breakdown to the World Cup in 2023. And what a lot of us in the press, and I look at it from an England fan, but also what I watch week in, week out in the Premiership, we've been craving for players like Harry Randall, Marcus Smith on form. These sort of guys, Alex Dombran, Sam Simmons, to be picked. And the coincidental thing is the guys that he's dropped that he always just goes back to, Billy Vunipola, Mako Vunipola, George Ford, these guys that have been picked at times for England when everyone's screaming for other people to be picked, and he's not picked them this time. Those guys are actually playing really well as well. So it's a really interesting selection. There's a lot of excitement around the likes of Adam Radwan. You look at the backs, Marcus Smith, is he going to start Harry Randall ahead of Ben Youngs? Well, Rafi Quirk's come in as well as another option off the bench, potentially a youngster who... Did
you hear what Alex Sanderson said about Rafi Quirk?
Go on.
He said he could be one of the country's greats.
Really?
Quote. Yeah, that's how highly he spoke of. Scored a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, he did. And this is the thing. So, for me, as someone that you judge Eddie Jones when he names a squad every time, and you look at it and you go, how hasn't he picked him? He's on form. Why hasn't he picked him? This time, I think he's genuinely picked the players on form in the Premiership, and he's given a lot of young, fresh meat the opportunity to play against Tonga and Australia and then South Africa. And it'll be a challenge. It'll be a massive test. I think a lot of it is around, you look at the way England have played over the last 18 months, it's been kick chase, hardly play with the ball in hand. And you can't play that sort of game with these players that he's picked. So I'm excited about hopefully seeing England not just throwing caution to the wind, flippantly chucking the ball around everywhere, but having a much more attacking mindset. And Keith Gleeson, the attack coach, Cockers will still be there with his driving mauls, tops off and all that stuff. And England will still have the foundations of a solid defence, the physicality that we can bring, the solid set piece. But you add into that the exciting players that are going to play at a pace, hopefully, that we haven't seen England play with for a long time. So I'm genuinely excited about it. You can debate around the Vunipola boys and Jamie George and George Ford, who, George Ford's probably playing the best rugby he's played in 5 years for Leicester at the minute, but it ain't good enough to get in the England squad because I think where Eddie Jones used to pick some of these guys on reputation, that reputation and what he's not picking on now, and why he's not picking them, is because, let's not forget, we finished 5th in the Six Nations last year. So if you continue doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results potentially. And this is Eddie's opportunity to give a lot of these players an opportunity where other people perhaps wouldn't have.
Do you think Eddie Jones had a watchful eye on the wreck over the weekend?
He was there.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
He was there. He was watching.
What were your thoughts on the game?
Swinno.
Marrow. Max Malins. I mean, I actually feel, I'm going to say, I feel sorry for Bath a little bit, because this sounds ridiculous. That first half, in my opinion, wasn't a reflection of how badly Bath played. Now, some people listening to it will look at it superficially and be like, what the hell are you talking about, Jim? You know nothing. And you're probably right. The scoreline does not reflect how Bath played in that first half. Now, I'm going to go through my points of feeling sorry for people, and then we can jump back in and open them up. Fair play to Stuart Hooper for coming out and doing an interview after the game. I don't know if you saw Sarah's interview, but she's asking him, basically, you're the right man for the job. She's like, worst defeat at home ever. She's asking some hard questions, and he's fronting up. And if it was me, and we love Sarah, and she asked the right questions, I think I would have put my head through the camera. I'll be honest. He stood there, he's taken it, and he's not cried. I would have cried, I would have smashed the camera, and I probably would have got in my car and drove off. So he's fronted up on what arguably is their worst result. It definitely is. It is. I don't ever see a result in terms of the scoreline as bad as that. Tell me if I'm wrong, Goody. No. Anyway, the way that Saracens played defensively and physically was unbelievable. Like their defence, their physicality, but their transition. So when they got the ball, Bath were absolutely fact. And I've been in games like this before, not for Scotland, actually playing for Saracens against Wasps, Goody. You remember it when we got 50, whatever it was, when Nathan Hughes, of all people, was running a mockery at Allianz Park, as it was called then. It's called the Stone X. I've been in games where it's just the opposition are unplayable. That was what Bath faced at the weekend. The ball bounced the right way. Saracens didn't have many opportunities in that first half. They took them. The physicality Bath struggled with, and the scoreline just got away with it. And I've got to speak frankly, Sips didn't look interested. They took him off after 40-something minutes early on. And I didn't know whether Saracens would be at the races completely this year. We said it. I said they made the top 4. But on that performance alone, and watching some of their big players, in terms of just gone through them, Mako, Jamie, obviously Marrow, I wouldn't put Swinno in that. He's just there to fill a void at the minute. But Ben Earl, obviously Billy, Faz, Nick Tompkins, I thought was unbelievable. Max Malins as well into that mix. And some of the young lads that they're bringing off the bench. Lazowski, excellent. So now you're thinking, actually, off the back of that, yes. But I'll say it again. I feel for Bath. I don't think the scoreline reflected that until the second half, where it was touch rugby, unfortunately.
Yeah, mate, it did look as if it was like a training run. Once they were 20-odd points up, it was effectively a training run, and Saracens were pulling moves out. And there was even one instance where they scored a try in the corner, and you hear it on camera. Alex Good says, I told you that would work, because it was if they could just try anything. And the moves that you dream about sometimes on the training paddock and you try and execute and you mess around with them, whatever, it was just coming off like you wouldn't believe. And like you said, Jim, Saracens were phenomenal. They really were. Some of the Bath boys, I didn't think they had the fight in the shirt at times. And I don't know whether that's because Saracens were so physically dominant that, for me, maybe it wasn't an effort issue. Maybe it was just a complete overpowering. And, the classic example, Faz hands off Cipriani, like Cipriani doesn't want to make a tackle. And, that sounds harsh, but it was true. And sometimes when you're looking at talisman in your team and you're looking for leaders, there wasn't a lot of that at all in the Bath team, but it was in spades in the Saracens team. And there's no doubt they're back in the Prem. They've got a point to prove because they took a lot of heat over the salary cap scandal. And they've come back and, Jim, you didn't give them a chance really early in the season, did you? They say they might just make the top 4. Well, that performance is one of the best performances we've seen from any Premiership team for quite some time. It was as good, if not better. I don't know, it's very different, but as good as what Quins produced against Bristol the week before, in terms of just sheer, Quins brought all the excitement and the razzmatazz, and everything went for Quins against Bristol's. Everything went for Saracens, the bounce of the ball, Maitland's picking it up from Cipriani. What's Cipriani doing there? Just floating it over the top to no one. So, we've got to be harsh because, it's not acceptable if you're a Bath fan. I don't know whether Stuart Hooper gave his arousing speech before the game, handing out the jerseys again, Jim. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe Stuart Hooper, people are questioning, is he the right man for the job? Has he got that squad playing for him? And
well, speak frankly, and it's not easy to sit here and open up other coaches. And I've mentioned me and Hoops had an interaction. We're doing some stuff with Rugby Pass, but clearly not is the answer to that question. Is it not? Yeah. They've not won a game this season. No. And you look at the squad. You look at their squad. They've got on paper. They've got a really good squad.
Yeah,
they've got England internationals. They've got British and Irish Lions players in that squad. They've got some players that are on a lot of money in that squad, and something's obviously not right.
On Bath, things were pretty similar for Worcester on the weekend, weren't they, against Leicester?
I mean, your Timberland boots, Jim, they're safe, aren't they? When you conceded 48,
I've bought a new pair. I know. I've genuinely bought a new pair, and then I had them on. I was wearing them at the weekend, saw the result, and thought, these puppies are safe.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, let's look at. I don't know whether to talk about Worcester and how inept they were at times, the amount of turnovers and loose kicking and all this stuff. But actually, it was all about Leicester, really. Their power game. You look at the squad they've built now. Yeah, you look at the squad they've built now. And again, I mentioned Jordan Murphy before. He had a lot to do with a lot of these players that are at the club now. When you talk about Nandolo, when you talk about the likes of Jasper Visa, the young lads coming through, Freddie Stewart, a lot of the signings were made by Jordan. But what they've done is they've moved away from him. There's been a seismic change in terms of Steve Borthwick getting in charge and going back to what they feel their identity is. Last season, now they're adding that on. Yeah, their set piece is dominant, isn't it? Ellis Genge was phenomenal at the weekend. Montoya's back from Argentina at hooker. You've got Nick Dolly coming off the bench, who's just sprung into action and fitted in so well in the Leicester jersey. You've got Van Staden coming back from South Africa now. Jasper Visa, Nandolo, George Ford on fire. He's got a point to prove. He's got the bit between his teeth. Whereas sometimes over the last couple of years, when George Ford knows he's 100% playing for England, has he always necessarily put everything into a Leicester jersey? At times, yes, and at other times, no. But everything is working for them. They've got a nice balance to their game. Some youngsters in there as well, and Harry Potter, the magician, just creating tries and scoring them as well. It was an all-court game by Leicester, but it was a bit too easy from what Worcester put up in front of them. They dropped off tackles, and it's tough for Worcester. Sometimes we might see a few of these scores this year. Because when there's no relegation, is there that ultimate desperation from teams at times? And we'll find out a bit more about that as the season goes on. But Leicester are fantastic. Played 5-1-5, their best ever start to a Premiership season. You're looking at them, and little momentum things make huge differences. That performance against Saracens when they should have lost at home, that last try that we spoke about, shouldn't have counted. It should have been flipped because Dan Kelly, the penalty should have been reversed. But their momentum swings in a season, and you come on to someone like London Irish who have been in really close games, drawn a couple, lost a couple, little momentum shifts like that when you win a close one, and Leicester are just going, on the up and up and up now.
You mentioned Rafi Quirk earlier, getting in the England squad. How impressed were you with him in Sale's win over Quins on Friday night?
A couple of headlines out of that. Manu Tuolangi as well. He is looking very good. Very good. I don't want to get carried away because he's had some injury problems, as we know. I think it come out that he'd lost X amount of kgs. Andrew, you probably work better on losing and gaining kgs, but I think it was 6 or something, which is basically a couple of dinners for you.
6 or 7. Yeah, just one, mate, at Nobu.
Yeah, just one Nobu dinner. You have to eat a lot of sushi for 6 kgs worth anyway. But look, Sale don't look like they're playing amazingly well. That game went right down to the wire. They obviously got a pick and go at the end. Well, Ruffy Quirk got the pick and go at the end. But I like Sale. I like the way they play. They're physical. I just feel like they need to maybe add a couple of different layers to their game. They look thin at 10 when AJ McGinty's not playing. We've said that before. But the South African depth that they've got in the squad, and they've got some star players, they need to keep Manu fit. He adds such a big difference to them, to that team. So,
I mean, the forward power from Sale was phenomenal. You know, the way they tried to bully Quins at times, didn't they? I mean, Taylor drives that. There was a couple that were going 20, 30 metres at a rate of knots as well, weren't they?
How good is to see the driving line out back across the board? I bloody love it.
Mate, I love a driving line out, mate. I mean, to the cowsheds and back. All I'm thinking, whenever I see a driving line out, all I'm thinking is Big Jim with his back to the opposition. Exactly.
Oh no! Exactly. Like if I ever felt someone hit me, I'd be like sitting on them, like on the way down, like pushing them on the floor and then running over them.
Well, lad. But yeah, no. So Tom Curry was great for Sale. He's a real pest, a real nuisance, a real nose around the breakdown. You know, Quins gave 21 penalties away. You just can't do that in any game of rugby and expect to win. But they nearly did, Quins. Sale created a few errors. The try straight up from the kickoff in the second half, where, you know, sometimes you're half asleep, you've just come out of the changing rooms. Veese has gone up for the kickoff, and I'm thinking again, Jim Hamilton, straight through the hands. Like, normally it's straight off the forehead, but I was thinking Jim Hamilton, straight through the hands. Ball bounces, Manu's asleep, he doesn't pick it up, and then...
It's Manu's fault. We just talked to him. That's his fault. That's his fault now. Give me some nuances to the kickoff. If you go up and gets caught in the lights, it's windy, you are praying that either comes off your forehead or someone's behind you. Worst nightmare. That.
Yeah. What I will say is Tom Curtis. We mentioned it last week when I mentioned around he had the kick to win the game for Sale against Gloucester with that last conversion, and the shed were very quiet and he missed it. It's a tough kick. This time he comes off the bench and he's got spuds of steel. You know, he's got a kick to put them ahead again, which was effectively the winning kick. I know they get the pick and go at the end, which puts the gloss on it. But the penalty from 45 metres out on the angle struck it really well. And as a kicker, and he's a very young man who's just starting his way out in the game, when you've missed one the week before to win a game, the next one you take to effectively win another game, it's a very, very tough thing to, you know, hold all in the emotions, not think about the miss from last week. And he struck it beautifully. It's a dead chuff for Tom Curtis.
Newcastle scraped home over Bristol. Is it time to start worrying about the Bears now?
I think a little bit. I do.
Jim, the Oracle Hamilton, that's what we're going to call you from now on. Jim, the Oracle Hamilton. Because you said they ain't making top four, Jim, and right now they're second bottom.
We're talking of four. They're on 4 points. So I don't want to be horrible to them, but you have to speak frankly, don't you? They're second from bottom. And I know we're only 4 or 5 games into the season, so you don't want to call it early, but momentum's everything. And I'm sure that they're going to improve. They're desperate for Semi to get back. We all are, of course.
It's a long time off, that. It's a good 4-month injury, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's hard to call. It is. But look, you've got to say it frankly. They're struggling. Newcastle's not an easy place to go and win. We know that. But it's the manner in some of their defeats. They look so easy to score against. I don't know whether that's because of the way that they play in terms of throwing everything into attack. We've spoken about it. Where's the plan B, the C? When everything's open, I mean, they play a fantastic style of rugby. Like, let's put that out there. But ultimately, it's about winning games, isn't it? So, I don't know. It's tough. You know, fair play to Newcastle. I thought in the first half against Saracens, they looked great. And they're making home a fortress. And it's a tough place anyway to go and play. But the more momentum you gather and the more you get in teams' psyche about going up there and big teams losing like Bristol, then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know what you mean, Jim. I think the one thing with Bristol on this occasion, they've gone up to Newcastle. It's a tough place to go, yes. They've made a huge amount of changes. So, you know, we know Randrand was out injured. We know Pietau didn't play at the weekend. You know, you look in the centres. I think they're actually really missing Siali Pietau, who's now left the club. You know, they're trying to play this game where they're firing it around everywhere, but that's all good and well when you got Pietau at the back, when you got Randrandra in the centre, when you have Pietau in the centre, Siali Pietau in the centre, when you can break tackles. You know, their best player on the field at the weekend was Harry Randall, who's about 65 kilos. But but they haven't got the punch that they've had before. So when you are chucking it around in the 22, looking for an edge, looking for a weak shoulder, you've got Semi Radradra breaking tackles, and then everyone floods through. You take out Siali Piatau, Charles Piatau, and Radradra, and it's half the team it was last year. And that's the results that they're getting. And fair play to Newcastle's defence. Nick Easter, who's their defence coach up there, they've had some tough moments, when they have been, broken too easily. And you kind of looked at them as a team and thought, well, they're quite easy to score against, but they got everything bang on at the weekend.
Let's take a break from the Premiership now then and get a guest on with former Wales and British and Irish Lions scrum-half Mike Phillips on the line. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Very good. All good. Good to be on.
So you've moved back from Dubai then. How's things?
I'm just back from my book. Book coming out this Thursday. So, just coming back to do all that and launching that and trying to do as much press and things for that, really. So, looking forward to, this week now and the next couple of weeks coming up.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about your book and then we can get into some ruggers. It's called Half Truths. So basically, this is, you're selling to millions on here, Mike. You're selling to millions. So dangle the carrot and tell us, is there some juicy stuff in there? What does half truths mean? I mean, you need to hit me with that line first. What does that mean?
Well, it's just an opportunity sort of, I was involved in a few sort of stories along the way in my career. I was front and back pages at times. And I think it's an insight to everything, giving my sort of take on it all, really. And not just, and everything else that was going around. And, as we all know, rugby is, it's tough at times, there's highs and lows, and it just sort of an insight to the mindset and what was going on, really. And it's been in the papers today down here. So few swipes at Gats were in there today. But I mean, it's all in perspective. And if you put it, if you read the book, which is amazing, it's probably the best rugby book ever of all time. So
wouldn't expect anything else from you, mate.
Yeah. I think, there's a few stories in there where people haven't heard. So there's one of me and Powley actually in Cardiff, but there's a few in there. So I think it's entertaining, and I think, being as honest as I can be. So, I'm quite proud of it.
One of the things I have read is that you were frustrated not only with how you were treated, but also how you felt other players were treated towards the end of their career, the likes of Adam Jones, Stephen Jones, etc., etc. Is this something that Gats just isn't great with, dealing with those emotions? Or, I've spoken to him a couple of times, and at times he does feel very emotionless, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, look, and it's a tough job. I mean, everyone, extremely tough job for him. He's got to pick 15 players. He's got to let a lot of players down, etc. But yeah, maybe, that's where the WRU could come in and sort of look and say, look, we've got to send these boys off. I think, in a sort of massive sort of showcase and to inspire the next sort of youngsters seeing that. And, I think, Adam Jones for me is probably one of the best players I've ever played with. I think his value was incredible. If he wasn't in the team, we would seriously struggle. So, I didn't like seeing that. And I think, we put so much in a period where we were relatively successful as well. I think we sort of moved the team forward, and it's just, I just kind of felt that it could have been done a lot better, and sort of, given the bit of an up to the boys and sort of say thank you in a way, really. Let these people go. I think Adam, a young prop, to see Adam Jones come onto the field, just wave to the fans. Everyone gives him a standing ovation. I'm on about me now. I think I'm on about I should have Adam.
In Adam Jones's body.
Mate, you wouldn't want to be in that body. And that's me saying that as well.
If I was in a scrum, I'd want to be in that body, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And anything about Dan Carter in there? We all want to know that. I mean, you're at Racing in Paris with DC, like I know him. Any stories of him in the book?
Yeah, of course. Well, he's going to sell me. He's going to sell me some copies, isn't it? No, that was a class to play with him. I mean, we were the same age, under 21s and things. And yeah, playing alongside, he was class. And what I like about him was off the field, he loved the beer, and, you would get on with everyone, and it was a good laugh. But world class as well. Never made a mistake. He was a bit annoyed I was better looking than him, but, that's...
Questionable. It's close. It's close.
I don't reckon it's close. This is the thing with Dan Carter. There's got to be something wrong with him somehow, somewhere, because he's good looking, he's tanned, he's lean, he plays like the best 10 in the world for probably 15 years. People look at him and adore him. Has he got any flaws at all? Because maybe he's hung like a pip. Like a little squirrel.
He's not. I've seen the picture as well.
I don't reckon he is either. It's got to be. Has he got hairy back? Tell us something.
Hairy back. No, he's just honestly. I'd love to say something, but he's top guy. We went to Monaco Grand Prix together. It was a top night. Never drunk so much. It was just, he's a top guy, and obviously world class on the rugby field. He deserves everything, all the accolades he gets, and he is genuinely down to earth. And unfortunately, no, it's a bit boring, but he is top class.
Yeah, do you speak to Powley much, Mike? We've had him on live shows, and there obviously is the great big narrative around the golf buggy, and he's told it a million times. It gets funnier and funnier every time. Everyone loves Andy Powell. He's a cult hero, not just in Wales, but I'd say globally. Do you have much chats and interactions with him?
Yeah, I was doing an event at Brecon a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that was a big one. But like Andy was mad. I mean, I've never met a guy whose grandparents have died about 18 times. I mean, I like Andy. You got to come up with a better excuse, mate. You can't be on a Monday, like you look around. Where's Andy, boys? Oh, it's his grandmother's funeral again. He's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and a lovely guy. Just got on with everyone, and top man. There's a few stories about him in there, and there's one where we went up to Cardiff and he stayed in my house, and I let that one for people to buy the book and read it. I think.
Thanks, Mike. Half Truths. It's out on 21st of October. Best of luck with it, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Mike.
Good bloke.
Good lad. Good lad. Gave us loads. Gave us absolutely loads.
It's one of them, isn't it? Like,
buy the book.
Yeah, buy the book. You get the stories, but give us the old story. Come on, give us something about Powley that people definitely want to read the book. Then
he's dangled the carrot about a story about Powley in Cardiff. I can add a few bits to that. He's shat in a sink. He's ripped off the doors. He's eaten 40 kebabs. He shaved his head. He shaved Gats's head. He's eaten Rob Howley's toenails, and he's gone to training, and he's sat down Alan Wynne-Jones, and then he won the lottery, and then he went to another funeral. That's what he was trying to say. Get the book, Half Truths.
Possibly. Could be good.
Let's round up the rest of the Premiership action now. Then Wasps came close against Exeter, didn't they, Goodey?
Yeah, listen, Wasps, there's a load of injuries at the club at the minute. We've got 2 loan players coming in last week.
I love how your first line for your beloved Wasps is an excuse.
It's not I didn't say my beloved Wasps, did I? I just said Wasps.
No, but you didn't need to. But yeah, if you could have put that in, it would have been seamless at the beginning.
Well, what I'm going to say
is, start with. Go on.
What I'm going to say is that's the line, and then but actually you look at the performance, and they're playing Exeter, who are back on or getting back towards the Exeter form that we know, and people have enjoyed watching them. And Wasps,
sorry, Andrew, can you call them Exeter Chiefs, please? Can you call them Chiefs? That's the name. Please.
What do I call them?
Thank you. Exeter.
Okay. Yeah, the Chiefs, the Exeter Chiefs. Is that better for you, James? The Exeter Chiefs, they're back to some of their form, aren't they? Henry Slade is on fire. They've got their oomph back up front. I think at one point, to be fair, we'll talk Johnny Hill. Johnny Hill, at one point in that game, was Wasps' best player. He couldn't catch a cold. He was giving penalties away like you wouldn't believe. But then he got his retribution. He scores the winner at the end. So fair play to Johnny Hill, my old lid. Listen, Wasps, they had a couple of decent driving lineouts that took Exeter's pack apart in the first half. Second half, it was all Exeter, though, and they defended really well at times. But Exeter are a champion team. I know they didn't win it last year. They lost the final. They should have won. But they've had a bit of a rocky start to the season. And effectively, they're starting to really gain some confidence again. They're getting their Lions boys back, and they've found their form. And Wasps, I think they go to Saracens this weekend. That could be a tough one with the injuries they've got. But they're punching above their weight. Brad Shields is throwing his body around like you wouldn't believe. Thomas Young played well. Dan Frost at hooker, thought he had a really good game. Exeter were just too good on the day.
Jim, tell us about the URC, mate. How was Edinburgh had a big win over the Bulls, didn't they?
Oh, they did. It was a big game. Did you watch that one, Andy Rowe?
No, I didn't.
Mate, I'll be honest, Jim. I saw the picture again you put next to Bobby Skinstad up on your socials. I mean, he looks great.
He does.
Can we talk about that coat again? That coat's got to go. I'd rather the red velvet corduroy one that you wore a couple of weeks ago, because that.
Don't you say that? I paid £700 for that jacket.
No, you didn't.
No, you did not.
Let's just round it up to £1,000. Isn't expect? That's a tailor-made jacket.
That ain't tailored, mate. That ain't tailored.
I mean,
maybe it was tailored for you when you're about 15, 20 kilos heavier than you are now, because it looked like it was falling off you. The sleeves are too long.
They're not too long.
I'm like, this week he's gone to the charity shop to get a jacket. What's he doing? Whereas Bobby Skinstad just looked the business.
Well, anyway, on the URC, Andrew, the game was all right. It started to pish it down in the second half, but balls up physical, scrappy game. Good win for Edinburgh. Great stadium. Look, anyone listening, if they get a chance to go to #AlwaysEdinburgh, I tell you now, it's a proper atmosphere there now. So for me to commentate there for Premier Sports, it's very good. What have I got for you? Ospreys. After Goodey, you called them embarrassing last week.
I think you did.
Was it okay? Yeah, well, they've listened. They went over to Benetton and they beat them 29-26. Scarlets, mate.
Oh, my Scarlets.
They got a Ravo's arm.
Yeah, they did.
Just. Not that the just matters to them, but they got 50 put on them by Leinster. So, I mean, it's Leinster, so it doesn't really matter. And poor Dragons, mate.
I talked them up last week.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have. They got beat by the Stormers, 24-10. Yeah, Ulster, good win against the Lions. Not playing amazing. Stevie Ferris, friend of the show, speaks about Ulster a lot, obviously. A slight bias there, but the standout from that was Will Anderson, who's been playing awesome for them at the start of the season. Really nasty injury. So hopefully his recovery isn't too long, and we wish him well.
Yeah, certainly. It looked terrific.
All right, well, should we have a little game, a little break from the code and play a bit of Guess the Go At?
Yes. Is it going to be more difficult or not? Because it's got ridiculously hard from the start, and then now it's embarrassingly easy.
But that's because you complained.
He's looking down at his paper already. You have got a bit of paper with rugby, football, cricket, and all that. You've got it written down.
I don't know what you're on about. I generally don't know what you're on about.
This is disgusting.
I haven't. No.
So it's Go At, not necessarily GOAT, but just a very famous sports star that everyone knows, okay?
Okay. Is it a man?
Yes.
Rugby?
No.
Football?
No.
Golf?
Yes.
Tiger Woods?
No.
Phil Mickelson?
No.
Jack Nicklaus?
No.
Oh my God, Rory McIlroy?
Yes.
Yay!
I'm going to get into golf, actually. Shout to Bobby Skinstad. Yeah.
Not good for your back, though.
But that's what I said. And Bobby said it's all right. Go on, Andrew. You're a golfer. Go on, hit me.
I'll be honest, mate. I play 3 times a week. Having seen you play, when you say you're going to get into golf, it's going to take a lot. Like
Andrew, you saw me play having a drink on every hole, /2 drinks goes with Andy Powell. And by the end, I'm facing the road with a cue or a club with a big end on it, and someone said hit it. And it has gone flying. You can't judge it. You cannot judge a fellow human on that.
Let's finish things off with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, we're going to start off in France, and we're going to go to Lyon because they became the first team to beat Toulouse this season, 25-19 on Sunday. So a massive tip of the slipper to them. What else was good? The Irish provinces, Leinster, Munster through a bit of luck and really bad officiating, but they still got the win. And Ulster, they're all 4 from 4 in the URC this season. So a fantastic effort from those boys. Those 3 teams are dominant this year again. What else was good? Newcastle, they saw off Bristol for their 3rd win of the campaign. It was a pretty turgid affair, but a great win nonetheless for the Falcons. Exeter back to winning ways. Henry Slade looked absolute class at times. So a big shout out to those boys. What else was good? Tom Curtis. I've got to give him a shout out because he's my mate's stepson, Dean Schofield's stepson, and Scoey's out in Dubai as well, James, just to let you know. But Tom Curtis slotted a penalty on about 74 minutes for Sale Sharks after missing a crucial kick last week that could have won the game. Massive balls on him. It's a tough kick, and he loved it. And he had blood pouring down his face at the same time, so he looked even better. So massive shout out to Tom Curtis from Sale Sharks. But the good this week is going to be, I'm just trying to narrow it down, Jim, between two of my old clubs.
Worcester?
No, because they took nearly 50 at home.
Did Breath win?
No, Breve lost at home as well to La Rochelle.
But so did Worcester. So did Wasps.
Wasps lost as well. They're not getting a mention either, Jim, even though we've just mentioned all three of them.
Mate, let's go with it now. You're a Leicester fan, aren't you?
Well, they're not going to be the first team that I mentioned. Saracens get a mention in the good this week, James. Their 71-70 demolition of Bath was phenomenal. The boys are on form. Jamie George outstanding. Max Malin's man of the match.
The boys.
You went to their dinner last week, Jim, and you're fully entrenched again in a Saracens family. You know, you say that, Andrew. My first question to Jamie George when I interviewed him from the stage, having just absolutely smashed it, was talk us about what's happened with England, thinking to be back in the squad, and then he came back and roasted me. So I'm not too sure he's talking to me. But anyway, it's your boys. It's your bit. No. I didn't say they're my boys. I said your boys. Anyway, I will change it to your boys, Jim. But they were phenomenal down at Bath. But they don't win the Good this week because they ain't top of the league, James. The Good this week goes to Leicester Tigers. I thought it was a phenomenal performance. Yes, it was away at Worcester, but from 1 to 15 and the subs that came on. Freddie Burns, my old chip and chase. Anything Marcus Smith can do, he can do as well. The performance was just outstanding. Freddie Stewart at the back. We mentioned him at times. Nandolo had about 6 people trying to climb on his back to bring him down. He's getting offloads galore in. They're outstanding. Leicester's best ever starts to the Premiership season. 5 from 5. They're 7 points clear at the top of the Prem. So a massive start from Steve Borthwick and the Leicester Tigers boys. So they get the Good this week, James. The bad, a few bits of bad. Josh Navidi, we're going to start with him. Shoulder injury. He's going to be out for about 5 months and miss the autumn and Six Nations after having shoulder surgery. We mentioned it earlier, Will Addison's horrific injury at the weekend. We wish him all the best with his recovery. It looked really bad, fairly innocuous position to be in, but we wish him all the best. That's pretty bad news. What else was bad? We just mentioned Leicester in the Good, but they played against Worcester, one of my old clubs, James. They lost 48-3 at home to Leicester, absolutely pants around their ankles. So that was pretty bad. Over in the URC, the Scarlets lost 50 points to 15 at Leinster. Not a great start to the season from the Scarlets, so they get a mention in the bad. What else is bad? I want to stick another club of mine that I used to play at, James, Breve, into the bad. And not the players, but Breve president Simon Gillam was forced to apologise for the behaviour of some sections of the home crowd when Jules Plisson was kicking at goal in La Rochelle's ugly 8-6 victory over Breve on Saturday. So not a good look from the. They were booing and hissing and jeering.
No, they were.
Yeah, they were. And they were saying horrible things. Yeah. So Simon Gillam has come out and apologised on their behalf. So that's not good. But the bad this week, unfortunately, can only go to one team, one place, one city, one rugby club owned by Bruce Craig, and that has to be Bath. Getting their pants pulled. I mean, tell the skids that, James. Talk me through the skids of Bath Rugby Club at the weekend.
If I was there, I would have the hoovers out and I would be sucking every pair of pants off them players. I'd just be literally just hoovering them all up and being like, lads, it's a fresh start. You ain't wearing pants because you don't deserve to wear pants. You don't even deserve to show anyone the skid marks on show. They're now gone. They're in the Dyson Hoover. Dyson's a great Hoover, apparently. Don't use it myself, use a Henry the Hoover. But anyway, there are other brands available. But anyway, that's what I would do. Fresh start is what I'm saying.
Fresh start, no pants or fresh pants, just use the Dysons. Anyway, Bath, they're going to get the bad this week. 71-17 defeat to the hands of Saracens at home. The third most points conceded by a team in Premiership history. Stuart Hooper, you've got a big week ahead of you this week. Normally we go with the ugly. We're not going to go with the ugly this week. We're going to change it up to the sad, unfortunately. And there's 2 bits of horrific news that have come out in the world of rugby over the weekend. First and foremost, close to home for myself and Jim Hamilton. Friend of ours, ex-teammate of ours, Tom Youngs. Unfortunately, his wife has fallen ill again, so Tom is taking some time away from the game to look after his family. So our thoughts are with Tom and Tiff and the family at this very, very tough time. And hopefully things can turn themselves around again. Yeah, and unfortunately over in New Zealand, some terribly sad news came out over the weekend where 25-year-old Maori All Black international Sean Wainui died in a car crash. The the tributes have been pouring in for him all over New Zealand and across the globe. The rugby family is pulling together. Shocking news. Our thoughts go with him. He leaves his wife and 2 young children, and hopefully their families can get behind them and support them very much at this very difficult time. So, very sad news across the world this weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks, Goodey. And you've got a shout out to finish off with, don't you, Jim?
Yeah, off the back of sad news, which is in the world, there's people doing great things out there. So a big shout out to Emmett Burns, who was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma in May. He's been having chemo since then, but has still been going to the gym, which has been the saving grace. And on October 25th, he's going to lift 10 tons during a workout by doing squats, deadlifts, bench press, all in aid of the Irish Cancer Society at St. Vincent's Hospital in Dublin. He's calling it Emmett's 10-ton challenge, and people can join in on Zoom or donate by visiting idonate.ie/Emmett's 10-ton challenge, or follow Emmett's 10-ton challenge on Instagram.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, producer Tristan, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Rugby Spot.
Spotter pod.